Hello, and welcome to another GIS report with Health in Perspective. Reporting for the Ministry of Health and Social Development, I am Public Health Communications Specialist Natasha Letsom. Today in the studio, we have with us the Chief of Drugs and Pharmaceutical Services, Mrs. Gracia Wheatley Smith. Mrs. Smith, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Natasha.
You're welcome. Well, we're here to talk about hurricane preparedness and medicine safety. So as we're well into the hurricane season, why is medicine safety and hurricane preparedness so important?
Well, because a hurricane is coming doesn't mean that you would not need your medicines. Mm-hmm. And during a hurricane passage or even before, in preparing, you may forget to go and get your prescription refilled or forget to secure some for your children. Also, during a hurricane, we have temperature fluctuations with heat because we've enclosed the houses to prevent breakage. And there are certain factors that affect the efficacy of our medicines, such as heat, extreme cold, light, and so forth. So the efficacy of your medicine is tied up actually in storage. And if they're not stored properly during a hurricane season, they may not be effective. Not bearing the fact that I did say, because a hurricane is coming does not mean you will not need your medication. Mm-hmm. So it is best that you have your medication in your house where you can easily access it.
So let's break it down. What should medicine users know before and during a hurricane impact? First, let's look at supply.
The first thing we should do as hurricane season is approaching is that we should at least get 1 month's supply of medication in our house to tide us over. Mm-hmm. Because yes, we have been blessed in that we have not had a hurricane impact in quite a while, but we can never know when the tables will turn. And although we have tried to prepare by strengthening our infrastructure, our hospitals can still be damaged, our pharmacies can still get damaged, our roads can become impassable, our airport can be damaged, and we do not know for how long. So while if an impact occurs that affects those things, while we are busy getting ourselves up, at least if you have a month's supply of medication in your house, it buys you some time for you to still have your therapy going while the government is trying to get us back on feet. So I would say definitely on the approach of hurricane season, get a month's supply of medication and keep safely in your house and ensure it is stored properly.
Now, in terms of, from the pharmaceutical perspective, how much at a time, how many medications or how many months supply at a time would the pharmacy allow you?
Well, on the approach of the hurricane season, that can be an exception. Right? So you can buy your 1 month supply. I would safely say they will give you 30 days supply of medication. You may have to pay for that outside of your normal insurance coverage because it is an extra month supply. But bearing the fact that we are in hurricane season, I think that dialogue can be had between you and your healthcare provider, in order for you to get proper coverage, especially if you're a chronic patient, such as hypertension or asthma, or something like that. Yeah.
So when you say 1 month, you mean 1 month in addition to the current month? Like right now we're in June. So you're saying make sure you have June and July months worth of
right,
medication.
Because you may have failed your prescription in June, so you need to get a supply for July, just in the event of. The pharmacy can always adjust their records to suit in reference to how you're refilling your medication.
Now, in terms of storage, you spoke a lot about the efficacy of medications and, how it is when you store it and the type of temperatures and what's not. Speak about the storage before and during the impact of the hurricane.
Well, the storage should be normal. You know that, of course, during the hurricane, we might lose electricity. And if you're a patient who has, let's say, insulin, we are so blessed that most manufacturers are now making insulin that can survive a month outside of the refrigerator. Before then, the normal used to have to be stored in the refrigerator. So if that is the case, you can keep it outside, but in some place that is not too hot, where it can be safe away from children, but you don't want it in a corner that is too dark or too hot to destroy the active pharmacy ingredients.
Speak about the proper containage or the proper storage. I know that a lot of times when I go to the pharmacy, the medication is dispensed in little plastic bags. Is that okay, or should we have some sort of other containers to secure the medicine?
What I would say is if you live in a area that is vulnerable for floods, what should happen is for that time, they should dispense the medication in an amber color bottle where the clip can be more secured than in a plastic bag. So if they dispense it in that, then you can put it safely in a Ziploc bag that can be added security in the event that the medication falls in flood waters or something like that that happens.
Speak to us about keeping a proper list of medication, and why is that important?
It's very essential that you know the medication that you are on, as well as the pharmacy. Like I said, we don't know what can happen with a hospital pharmacy or even one of our community pharmacy where their records are destroyed. So if you have your medication list of all that you have, it makes it easy in the event that you need to go and get medication. So you need to know the name, not just the color. Some people say, I am on the blue tablet for high blood pressure. There are many blue tablets. So you need to know the specific name, the specific strength, how often you take it, the doctor who prescribed it, and actually where you fill the medication, whether you did it at Kumar or Vanderpool or Medicare or the hospital pharmacy. Yes.
Now, I kind of want to look at a few different types of medication, and so you can share with us examples of how to prepare. For instance, asthmatic users, how can they prepare?
I would recommend that asthmatics would get an additional inhaler during the season that they will keep specifically in the event a hurricane is coming. So they would know that they have that extra supply at home. Yes, because at that time you may not be able to get to the hospital pharmacy, or the pharmacy may have ran out because everybody's looking to top up on their medication. So at least if you have that one at home that you just have for that time, and then you can secure that.
How about pain and fever reducing medication?
Oh, definitely. Parents, especially of little children, especially if your child is teething, you need to have that at home, because the hurricane is coming doesn't mean that the pain will not come or the fever will not come. And to be able to access medicine by going out during a hurricane or waiting until and the child is in pain, that is not the best. So the best thing to do is to have a little Advil or a little paracetamol at home, a little extra bottle at home. And therefore you can have that in the event the child gets ill. And then after the hurricane has passed and the government has said, well, the roads are cleared, then if necessary, you can take the child to the hospital, yes.
What about insulin?
Insulin. Of course, we need our insulin if we are a diabetic and if we are on insulin therapy. We definitely need that. But like I said, there are some insulin that can be stored outside of the refrigerator for 30 days. But if you want to keep your insulin, all you need to do is to get like an ice box, put it in some ice, but you have to be careful not to put the insulin itself on the ice, because once insulin is frozen, even if you thaw it out, it should not be used because the molecular structure has changed. So you need to get it in a plastic container and then rest the container on the ice so that the insulin does not come in contact with the ice, and you can monitor it that way. But as soon as electricity is restored, well, then you go back to storing it in the fridge. Yes.
Now, say for instance the territory is under a hurricane warning, that we expect an impact of a hurricane within the next 24 hours.
Yes.
What advice would you give to medicine users?
I will say stock up. That should be one of your top priorities. Along with food, you need your medicines. Because the hurricane is coming, we don't know how long it will last. We don't know if it will go over the island and then turn back, double back as we say. We don't know what will happen to our ports. We don't know what will happen to our infrastructure. But you need to keep yourself healthy, because that is what medicine does. It helps keep you healthy. It helps keep you well. If you have blood pressure, you need that medicine, because at that time it is so much stress with the hurricane, the winds and everything, and you're in the house, you're bad down, you're wondering what's going on outside. Your pressure can become a bit elevated, or just the frustration of everybody being in the house enclosed with nothing much happening. It can be very negative, a very negative impact on your pressure. So of course you want to make sure that you have your medicines. And like I say, having that extra one while we are getting ourselves back up on track is worth your life, yes.
What tips would you share for parents with small children or, children in general?
Just children in general. As you get your medicines though, I would just recommend one thing. Keep them safely away from your children. Ensure that they're properly covered and away from your children. We usually like to put our medicines in a medicine cabinet, but that is not the best. I know it is the most convenient, but it's not the best because moisture affects the therapeutic efficacy of a lot of our medicines. And keeping them in the bathroom where you have the moisture of the shower and everything actually impacts the quality of your tablet. So if you can keep them somewhere on top of cupboard, safely away from the children, that would be good. Just ensure that you have, if your child is asthmatic, have that extra inhaler. If your child is teething, have that extra paracetamol.
What advice would you have for the elderly?
My sweet elderly, yes, the aches and the pains, as we all have, ensure that you have your medicine. If you're a diabetic, ensure that you have, whether it be your glucophage, or your glyburide, or your metformin, or your glycoside, ensure that you have your supply, because we all know that if that blood sugar gets out of control, it can be fatal. So we want you to be safe during this hurricane season. Ensure that you have that, and if you have your insulin, take the time to have it properly stored. So visit your pharmacy and get your extra month top up. You may have to pay it out of your pocket, like I said. It may not be covered by insurance because they may say you already had your set. But at least if you have this home, you don't have to worry about that.
Right. Well, do you have any tips for caregivers?
Caregivers, ensure that the patient who you are caring for, ensure that they have their medication because they may not be ambulatory. So get their supply for them before the hurricane sets in or before you leave and you go home. Ensure that their medicine is there, that it is safely tucked away, and that it is out of harm from children or their pets or any, Ensure if you want to package it out for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in containers that are available so that they can know what they are taking, well, then you are free to do that.
Well, Mrs. Wheatley Smith, I want to thank you for coming on the program today. As we're well into the hurricane season, to share with us some tips for hurricane preparedness and medicine safety. I know a lot of time, we're busy getting food and getting water, ensuring that we have, batteries for our lights, we have, some sort of radio to listen to, and sometimes the medicine aspect of people who use a lot of pharmaceutical products, you probably, that goes over your head. You probably don't think about it until you're down to your last tablet. So this information it's very key, very timely, and we want to thank you for coming on the program today. But before I let you go, I want you to share with us any final thoughts, any key messages, anything right now you want the listening audience to know.
Well, I am not sure how many of our patients at home use oxygen. And that is something we have to be very careful about. So during that time, we would not want you to be using any open flame like kerosene lamps and all of that. So get battery operated flashlights. That would be safer for the use of oxygen in your home. Like I said, get your supply of medicines. I always encourage individuals, 2 weeks before your medicine run out, you should go and get a refill so that you have never left in the position where you turn up for your medicine and the pharmacy say, oh, we are out of that. So if you go 2 weeks before and the hospital pharmacy doesn't have it, well, then you have enough time to go around to the private pharmacies and get your prescription filled. So always having a constant supply of medicines. It is even more crucial during hurricane season when we do not know what will be the outcome in the event that the territory is struck by a hurricane. Yes.
Thank you again, Mrs. Wheatley Smith.
Thank you so much for having me, Natasha.
Not a problem. My pleasure. Well, thank you for tuning in to this edition of the GIS Report with Health in Perspective. I hope that you have found the show very informative, and I hope you will employ some of the strategies highlighted today as we all continue to prepare for the 2017 hurricane season. Remember, it is better to prepare and prevent than to repair and repent. Knowledge is power, and information saves lives. Reporting for the Ministry of Health and Social Development, I am Public Health Communications Specialist Natasha Letsom. Thank you for tuning in.